and stuff the human meat into their famous empadas and sell them to the people in town. They literally were feeding people in the city human meat. But the cult and the cannibal Silvera
Yo, you
was
been
not
muted the whole
actually his father,
time.
nor was Maria's
Oh
mother,
my
Isabel
fucking
Silva,
god.
her actual mother, nor was her aunt, Bruna
what?
Silva,
Bro,
actually
I've
her
had you accidentally
In
muted
reality,
the whole
those
time,
three
bro.
people were not related to Maria. They were instead members of a cult called the Cartel Sect. And all these three cult
But the video
members
was
cared
muted
about
too.
was impressing the members of the cult. When they thought about, making it big, their so-called family name becoming bigger and more powerful, that was all in relationship to the Cartel Sect. They wanted the members of this cult to look at them as the most powerful and important members of that cult. And the way they tried to do that was by performing the duties of this cult to the best of their abilities, better than anybody else in the cult. And so what did this cartel care about? Well, the literal purpose of the Cartel Sect was to eliminate women they deemed unclean in order to reduce and purify the world's population.
That was a real autopsy. That was like a real crime scene.
Had become very well versed at doing this. All those nannies that came around to see Maria, well, the reason they kept vanishing is because shortly after the mother, the father, and the aunt introduced them to Maria and said, oh, she's gonna be your new nanny, they would shoo Maria out into the backyard, and then they would murder the nanny because this person had been deemed unclean. They would cut their throats and stab them to death. But that wasn't all. That wasn't enough cleansing. After they murdered these women, they would then butcher them and stuff the human meat into their famous empadas and sell them to the people in town. They literally were feeding people in the city human meat. But the cult and the cannibalism and the murders were not actually the biggest shock of the story.
That probably tastes good
The biggest
too.
shock of the story is actually the real identity of little 5-year-old Maria. She was actually the daughter of the very first victim of the Cartel Sect. The mother, along with Maria, 3.5 years earlier, when Maria was just 1.5 years, they had been lured to this very house where her mother was murdered right in front of Maria. And then after her mother was killed, they cooked her mother and fed pieces of the mother to Maria.
This sounds
Ever
so
since,
fake.
They had just kept Maria and treated her like she was a member of the family, basically turning her into an unwitting cannibal. The existence of the cult and their hideous murders were ultimately discovered after they used one of the credit cards of their victims sometime in the spring of 2012. That's when all the cops rushed into the backyard and confronted Maria. George, Isabel, and Bruna, Maria's fake family, were convicted of 3 murders, including the murder of Maria's real mother, and they are currently serving what amounts to life sentences in Brazil. Police believe the actual number of women that they murdered is as many as 8. As for Maria, according to recent news articles, she was reunited with distant family. Maria is not her real name. That is a pseudonym to protect her identity.
That's what people want me
This
about
is
this.
a
I
World of
gotta add.
Warcraft hardcore randomizer. All your abilities and talents are random, and you only get 1 life. Let's see how far we get. So you roll a random ability.
That's my
from
thing with these kind of shows, though. Like, I couldn't imagine. First of all, eat somebody, and I went like 2. I know the empanadas snap. Like, you don't know what's human meat, so you think you just eat it, right? You sold a whole plate full. Them empanadas was good. They was busting. I just feel bad. It was booty meat in it. You feel me?
Wait, what?
What the? Oh, okay. What time you at? Yeller?
Yeah.
What
I'm
away?
at 7:53.
7:53.
Are you the type of...
All right. Me too.
I can unpause it.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
person who has binged basically all of my YouTube videos every week? You anxiously wait a new upload? If so, thank you. But also, you're
he's trying to hit us with an ad.
Because if you didn't know this, we actually have a separate podcast, the MR.BALLEN podcast, that has literally hundreds of stories that are not on YouTube that you can binge right now. That podcast is available on all podcast platforms. Again, it's just called the MR.BALLEN podcast. And on Mondays on that podcast, we upload exclusive
y'all go follow
new
Mr.
content
Ballin. Matter
that
of
is
fact,
not
no,
on
follow
YouTube
me.
to the podcast.
I need
That's
it more than he
Mondays.
does.
And then on
I'm,
Thursday,
like, not even
we
gonna be
remaster
I need
the
it.
audio of
I
your
need it.
favorite videos on YouTube
Me.
and put those on the podcast. But again, Mondays,
I have a podcast.
those are brand new and exclusive to the podcast.
Me too.
But if you want to hear those exclusive episodes 1 month ahead of Apple and Spotify,
If you want to
and
hear
all
my
the other
videos
platforms,
one day in
there's only
advance, go to
one
my
place you can
Patreon.
do that, and that's on Amazon Music.
Damien, what
again,
Patreon?
you can go to any podcast
Oh, I got
platform and
Patreon,
find the
yeah.
Mr. Ballin podcast. Or if you're like me and you hate waiting, then you can
My
listen
back
early
hurts.
and ad-free on Amazon Music.
Someone's put somebody shut my spine, bro. I got probably beat up in the back. Like, what in my sleep, bro? Something hurts back here.
On January 23rd, 1989, a mother was cooking dinner in her home in Rochester, New York, when her 11-year-old daughter came into the kitchen. The daughter had just finished delivering newspapers along her delivery route in their quiet suburban neighborhood. And so her mother asked her the same nightly question: how was the route? And usually the daughter replied with just a good. But tonight was different. Instead, her daughter said, "It's okay." And the mother pried, like, "Well, what do you mean? What happened?" And the daughter said, "Well, I saw something strange." She told her mom that she delivered newspapers to this one particular old man. He was very nice, and he always waved to her whenever she went by. And tonight was no different. He had waved to her, but there was just something off about the way he was sitting. The mother asked, like, "What do you mean?" And the daughter, she really struggled to articulate what she had seen. One, it was dark. Two, the man was sitting inside of a screened-in porch that kind of obscured her view, and the awnings were pretty low, making it hard to look in. But she said basically when she had gone past, the man had waved to her like normal, but his legs appeared to be straight up in the air, like he was sitting on a chair and his legs were like up, vertical, right in front of him. In fact, when he waved, it was like he was waving between his legs at her. And so when the mother heard this, she really didn't know what to make of it. I mean, the story didn't make any sense. She couldn't really understand how this guy was sitting where his legs would be straight up in the air like that. But at the same time, she could tell her daughter was worried, and
I'm
she
imagining
kinda
like a
figured that
puppet.
maybe her daughter's imagination had run wild here.
Yeah, look, he's
and so she
scared,
told her
yeah.
daughter, like, "Hey, look,
Wait.
if he waved to you, then I'm sure
You pussy?
everything's just
Imagine-
fine. Don't worry."
Yeah.
But the following night, when the girl came back from her route once again, she was even more upset about this guy out on his porch. She told her mom that once again she looked in the porch and there he was sitting there with his legs straight up in the air, except this time he didn't wave to her, including when she made a point to stop and wave at him. He did not wave back. Now, the girl told her mom that she was worried about him, and so she went right up to the door to go check on him, but the screened-in porch was locked, so she couldn't get inside, and, her view was kind of obscured because of the screen, so she couldn't really see him in there, but, she didn't know what to do, so
Where
she
did you
just
getting
left.
this film
Now,
from?
this story, which was already weird, now did seem a whole lot weirder that 2 days in a row, her daughter is seeing this. But the mother's thinking to herself, like, come on, this is just some older guy who loves this chair and, he's fallen asleep in some weird position here. And, my daughter's sort of exaggerating what she's seeing. Like, this can't be a big deal here. But again, seeing the concern on her daughter's face, she told her daughter, look, don't worry about it. I'm sure everything's fine. I will go by tomorrow morning and make sure he's okay.
I gotta add.
Crazy sounds in here.
So
All right, 11:55.
Three, two, one.
the next morning, a little before 11 a.m., the mother arrived on the street where this old man lived. And as she was walking down the road towards the house, she actually spotted the mailman. And so before she went any farther, she flagged the mailman down, and she asked him, like, hey, is there anything weird going on with that old guy who lives right over there? But the mailman was like, no, he's just a nice older guy who waves at everybody who goes by. And so the mother thanked the mailman and did give some thought to just, taking what the mailman said and turning back around and heading home and telling her daughter everything's fine. But, she knew her daughter was really worried about this guy, and so she decided she would just continue down the road and check on this guy for herself and just really make sure he's okay, and then report back to her daughter. And also the mother was thinking, it's about 20 degrees outside. It's very cold. This is not really a good time for an older man to be outside so much. So what's he doing? Like, let's really make sure he's okay. And so the mother made her way down the road and she reached the old man's house. And sure enough, the screened-in porch really did obscure, whoever was inside of it. She could see a silhouette of what appeared to be this old man sitting there. But the first thing she actually noticed was not him, but rather the 2 newspapers that were sitting right on his walkway, uncollected. I mean, these are the newspapers that her daughter had left over the same period of time that she's seeing this weird thing happening with this guy. And so suddenly, the woman's feeling like that's a pretty big red flag. And so she hustled her way right up towards the front. And as she did, she looked into the screen porch and waved at this old man to try to get his attention, like, hey, are you okay in there? But the man did not wave back. And so the mother went right up to the door and she checked it, but like her daughter had said, it was locked. And so the mother, she pressed her face up against the mesh screen that had been obscuring her view from a distance. And she put her face right up against the screen where she would have a clear view inside. And when she did, and she saw the old man who was in fact right there, and he did in fact have his legs up, when she saw him, she realized what was actually going on. And the second she did, she jumped back, turned around, and ran away to go call the police. It would turn out the old man who lived there, whose name was Robert Ham, and he was 73 years old, he was not just eccentric and sitting weirdly on his front porch. Instead, on January 23rd, right before that little girl had come home and told her mother that this man had been acting strangely, on that evening, Robert had come out onto his screened-in porch, and for whatever reason, he had attempted to sit down on this trash can that was out there on the porch. But the lid didn't hold. And so Robert fell butt first into this trash can, folding him up into this V position where his legs were straight up in front of him. And Robert was too weak to get himself out of the trash can. And also because of being in this V position where his legs were pressed up against his torso, it was restricting his ability to breathe and to make any sound. And so all he could do in this position was just wave at passerby, hoping they would see he was in trouble and go help him. But unfortunately, nobody could really tell what he was doing, including the little girl on the paper route. They just thought there was this guy sitting in his porch in this weird position, waving to people.
I've been in that kind of position before.
I ain't died. And so unfortunately, because nobody came to his aid, Robert did die. He would die of a heart attack, and in fact, by the time his mother arrived at his...
Pause. What do you mean he died of a heart attack? Not suffocation, a heart attack. Like, he was like, huh? What? I don't get it.
You shit.
Like, I've been stuck in shit like that too. Like, where it's like my butt first, and like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? I feel we've all like been in that situation before. So that shit had to be like, that nigga was like in a folded lawn chair position. He had to be actually like a bag of chips folded up.
Yeah,
right. Put him in a whole pretzel. And a heart attack, I could get suffocation, but a heart attack did it to him. So he was like scared and croaked, or he got a heart attack from lack of oxygen or something. I don't get a heart attack part. All right, what time are you at?
I'm at 16:38.
Marlon, back up.
No fucking way.
Where are you? I think your shit is backwards.
Nah, it's not a game.
Hold on. Cause you know how you can click on certain, like, you can click on the time and it'll flip the time into minus, not actual like just you have 16 minutes and 38.
Like
yeah,
16 minutes down.
left.
Not
Yeah.
16 minutes in.
Is your shit like that?
Nigga, where are you at?
I'm at 15:23.
Nigga, what? Okay, tell me when you get to 17:09.
I think you're no, like, hold on. What do you see right now on your screen?
Oh my god, bro! I see this nigga talking with the barnyard behind him.
I'm looking at the fucking newspaper.
Oh my god, bro.
How are you doing that? Your speed is up. No, like, actually, Your speed is up. No, Marlon. Your speed is up because that is fucking impossible. We backed up and got to the same part. This is the second time this shit happened. Your speed is forward somehow, some way. Check your speed,
My speed is at 1x, bro. Check your shit.
nigga. Why would I check mine and I'm behind you?
Check your fucking speed to see if your shit's a little slower, bro.
My shit is at 1x, bro.
My shit's at 1x. I'm looking at this shit.
Marlon, it has to be a
Baby,
lie.
you're not. Oh my god.
Nigga,
man.
there's no other possibility, nigga. You are ahead of me again, and we're at the same speed. Your speed has to either be wrong, or you skipped ahead somewhere, bro. Like, cause there's no shot. Cause we were just at the same part. Cause when I talked to you about the launch here, we were on the same page. We knew what was going. We were looking at. We heard about the same shit, right?
Yes.
So how the fuck are we hearing the same thing but looking at two different scenes?
You at 1.8 speed. No, you at 0.8 speed, nigga.
Marlon, hold on. You said you're looking at the barnyard. Let me see.
His house and put her face up against the screen, Robert was already dead.
Okay, you're in the last top 3 just teeth, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I'm at 1709.
Why are you still going forward?